Haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Yud Tes Amud Beis. Starting with Daf Yud Tes Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the bottom. Our Mishnah states when the Ziknei Bezdin takes leave of the Kohen Gadol, they are mashbiya him, they require that he takes an oath. And they say to him, Ishi Kohen Gadol, our master, the Kohen Gadol, Onu Shluchei Bezdin, we are the agents of the court. Ve'ato shlucheinu v'shluchei bezdin, and you are our agents and the agents of the court. Ask the Gemara, let us suggest that this is a refutation on the opinion of Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yoshua. The Omar of Huna B'rei Rav Yoshua, Hani kohani shluchei d'rachmana ninhu. These kohanim, when they do the avodah on behalf of the bailim, they are considered the shluchei de rachmana. What is the nafkamina of the shluchei rachmana or shluchei didon? The nafkamina would be if the bailim who are bringing the carbon and the kohen does on their behalf the avodah, if the bailim made a neder that this kohen should not have any hana from this kohen. So if we say that the kohanim are shluchei de rachmana, so then they can continue doing the avodah on behalf of the bailim. So Gemara says, the Amris, what is his argument? Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yoshua to say that kohanim are shluchei de rachmana, the Amris shluchei didonin hu, because if you're going to say the kohanim are our shluchim, we're on top of Yud Tes Amud Beis, mi'ika midi da'anan lo matzina lo me'aviv shluchei didon matzu avdi. How could that be? Because we ourselves, as the bailim, as the non-kohanim, cannot do the avodah. Can therefore the kohanim do the avodah on our behalf? In other words, a shuliach is an extension of his mishaleach. And therefore, if the mishaleach, in this case the bailim, cannot do the avodah, because it's off limits to a non-kohen, so then the kohen would not be able to do the avodah on their behalf. Elamai, he argues, it must be that they are shluchei d'rachmana. The Gemara says, Hochi ka'amrei lei. No, this is what they were saying to him. They weren't saying to him that indeed that the avodah, you are going to then be a shliach, you are our shliach for the avodah. That's not what they were coming to say to him. Rather, what they were saying to him is that you have to then take the shvuah based on our understanding and the das of Bezdin. You cannot then say that you understand it differently, and that's why you then performed whatever you performed, not abiding by the shvuah. As follows. This is what they said to him. Mashbin onu alecha al daitenu ve'al das bezdin. That is the shvuah that you must be taking on our understanding, the understanding of das bezdin, and not your own convoluted type of understanding. The Mishnah is quoted, He, the Kohen Gadol, separates from them and weeps, and they separate from him and they weep. They are poresh from him because they are chosheh him to be a tzeduki. Sorry, he is poresh from them and weeps because they were chosheh for him to be a tzeduki. Veheim porshinu boichin, and they separate from him and they weep. So even though over here they were appointed to be a shliach of Bezdin, to go ahead and mashbiya him, but is as if they're saying we had to be chosheh him, and therefore somebody's chosheh b'ksherim is like it. What a terrible thing we did. Ask the Gemara, kokach lama, why did they have to then require that he take a shavua? What was the concern? Explains the Gemara, shalo yitakein mi bachutz v'yachnis kederch she'atzdoikin oisin. We're afraid that he would prepare in advance the way the Tzedoikim misunderstand, misread, and misinterpret the Torah by saying there has to be then the Keter is burning and going up in a smoke prior to the Kohen Gadol entering the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And we have a Mesara that's Torah Sheba'al Peh, that the Kohen Gadol only lights the Keteris while he's inside of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Tana Rabbana Gemara brings, in fact, a Maisa that took place with the Tzdoiki. Maisa b'tzdoiki echod shehiskin mi bachutz v'hichnis. He prepared outside of the Kodesh Kadoshim. That means he caused the Ketaris to go up in smoke before entering the Kodesh Kadoshim. Beyitziyasoi hayasamech simcha gedoyla. In his way out, he rejoiced a great joy. Paga by Aviv, his father, he came and approached him. Omar loy, he said to him, Bini afal pishitz doikin anu, even though we are Sadducees, misyorin anu min haperu and me'aprushim, we are afraid of the chachmei haTorah. In other words, we are afraid to be choylek lamaisa on the way they proceed and do it. Omar loy, the son replies to his father, Kol yomai hi hayisi mitztar al hamikra hazeh. All of my days I was in pain over this pasuk. It says, Ki be'onon eiro ala kaporis. For in the cloud, in the cloud of the ketaris, I will be seen on the kaporis. Omarti, I said, Mosa yavod liyodiv yakamena. When will this opportunity come to my hands? I will be able to fulfill it, the son says to his father. The Gemara recounts, Achshav, Shebol liyodi lo yakamena. Now that it comes to my hand, I have the opportunity, I will not do it, he says to his father. Says the Gemara, Amru, it wasn't for much time later, Lo hayu yomi mu'otim ad shemeis, until he died, this Kohen Gadol, v'hutal ba'ashpo, and he was thrown. He was found in a trash heap. And there were worms that were coming out of his nose. And the Mepharshim explain why the significance of the toilam coming out of his nose, because that was the first place that entered the Kodesh HaKadoshim. V'yesh oimrim, some say a different version of this story. B'yitziyasa noigev, on his way out, he was struck down. The Tani Rebbe Chia, like Rebbe Chia taught, Kimin kol nishma ba'azara. There was a loud voice that was heard from the courtyard. Sheba malach v'chavtoi al ponov. There was a mal that came and he struck him on his mouth, on his face. V'nichnesu echov hakoyhanim umatzu bekakaf regel egel ben ksefov. And his brothers, the Kohanim, they entered and they saw that indeed he had the footstep, the round footstep of the on his back, between his shoulders. In other words, it smote him on his face, that and then also then was so big and mighty that it also then made a roishim on his shoulders. Shenema, it says in Pasuk, Varagleim regel yeshora, the footsteps, the feet of the Malochim are like one straight foot. The kaf ragleim kikaf regel egel, and the palm of their foot, the sole of their foot, is like a round foot, like a round sole. The Gemara now quotes Omar of Zechariah ben Kevutal. Gemara explains the difference in the pronunciation of his name, Kevutal. Masni le Rav Chanon bar Rove lechia bar Rav kamei de Rav. He taught in front of Rav. Omar of Zechariah ben Kefutal. He pronounced the name with a fei. Umachve le Rav biyodei kevutal. And Rav demonstrated with his hand, he was maramis to him, that is kevutal and not kefutal. Asked the Gemara, V'nei molei meimar, why didn't he just say to him kevutal? Why didn't he just motion to him with his hand? It's kevutal with a vase and not with a fei. Answers the Gemara, Kriya Shema Havikari. He was in the middle saying Kriya Shema. In fact, the Gemara, V'chi hai gavna mishari, if he was in the middle saying Kriya Shema, could he then go ahead and gesture with his hand? V'homar of Yitzchok bar Shmuel bar Marta. He said, HaKareh Shema, when he reads Kriya Shema, lo yirmoiz be'enov. He shall not motion, he shall not hint with his eyes, v'lo yikroitz b'svoisosav, and not with his lips, v'lo yore be'etzboisav, and not with his fingers. V'tanyo, and it stays similarly in a brayso, Rabbi Elazar chisma oimer, HaKareh Shema, when he reads Shema, umaramez be'enov, u'bekaretz b'svoisov, umar be'etzboiv, one who then is hinting either with his hands, or with his lips, or with his fingers, with his eyes, his lips, or his fingers. All of Akasav Oimer v'loy oisi karosa Yaakov. And to me, you did not call out, meaning you did not recite to me, O Yaakov. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. In other words, you didn't say Kriya Shema properly. Answers the Gemara lo kashya. It's not difficult. How did Rav go ahead in motion in the middle of Kriya Shema to say that indeed it's pronounced with a vase and not a fei? Kevutal, not kefutal. Ho beperek rishon, ho beperek shein. There's a chiluk. When we just said one shall not meramiz, that's talking about during the first parsha of Kriya Shema. When he says Shema Yisrael and V'ahavta, those psukim, the first parsha. That which Rav was meramiz because it was for a halacha, for a Torah purpose, that was in order to misaki him, that was permitted in the second parsha of Kriya Shema. The Gemara now wants to just spoke about Kriya Shema, as the pasuk states, indicating you have to have the proper kavanah for the first parsha. The Gemara now goes on the next pasuk, v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bom. The Gemara darshans those words, v'dibarta bom. Taner Rabbanan bring the following brayso, v'dibarta bom, you shall speak in them. Bom v'loy b'tefillah, in those words of Kriya Shema you should speak out and make loud, and not in words of tefillah. Those you should only be able to hear your own words, but not out loud, so that others can hear. V'dibarta bom, you shall speak in them. Bom yesh lecha reshus ledaber v'lo b'dvarim acherim. In those, referring to those divrei Torah, you have reshus to speak in, and not in other things, referring to dvarim betelim. Rabbi Acha omer v'dibarta bom, speak in them. Asei oison keva v'al ta'asem arai. Make those words of Torah keva. That should be your fixed type of language, your primary language when you speak. And make other things, even if they're necessary, tofil, make them secondary. Arai. Omar Rava said, Hasach sichas chulin oive be'esei. Somebody speaks inconsequential words, he's over in essay. Shneimar says, v'dibarta bom bom v'loy b'dvarim acherim. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Omar over belav. He's going to be over Allah. Shneimar kol advarim yegeim lo yuchal ish ledaber. The Poshup Pshat in the Pasuk says that all of the words a person cannot be worn out from to speak in. There's so many things, rather. All of the things a person cannot become over wearied. He's not going to be he'll be lo yochel ishel ledaber. He won't be able to then speak in all those wearied type of things. There's so many things. But he darshans the words that not only cannot do so, but he shall not speak in those dvarim that yegeim. That means that things that are inconsequential, those things, since they have no purpose or meaning and they cause effort, they're called dvarim that yegeim. And therefore, there's a lav over here, not a lav min Torah, but is a lav from the pasuk in Koheles, lo yuchal ish ledaber.